Well, Jörg-Andreas Krüger, welcome to the 18th Forum for the Future of Agriculture. You are president of NABU, the Nature and Biodiversity Conservation Union, and you're a strategic partner of the forum. How important is it for you to have that partnership? How important is it for you to be here today?
It is really most important. You can't underestimate, But I mean, we live in a time where we all have heard a lot and we all sense it that we have a lot of changes, a lot of threats, underlying pressures and so on. And that means we have to sit together to develop the best solutions for the future. We all know that the old recipes, the concepts from the past are not working for the future. And it's important to have the people around the table and not sitting in different meetings rooms or different conferences.
So not to be siloed, very important theme. We always bring people together. Of course, our themes of feeding the world, agriculture being absolutely the underpin of that, but also two things can be true. The problem of agriculture for greenhouse gas emissions, for biodiversity loss, those themes are simply not going away, are they?
No, they will be there for all the time. I mean, the food security issues becomes extremely relevant. We have now seen the first results of the war in the Iran. We see the skyrocketing prices and so on. That means it will be much more difficult to have the food security and, on the other hand, to really reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, to preserve biodiversity so that we can still feed the world in 50 years as well.
So those themes continue, and as you say, shocks to the system, the challenges that are presented, the world we're living in today, just means it's not business as usual, right?
No, it's not business as usual, and for that it's so important to bring together the willing forces. And for me, the most important point is what do we do here in Brussels, in the Parliament, and with the Commission. We have to talk about the common agriculture policy, and we have to talk about the future of that, because budgets become tight.
So today you are on a panel talking about the Common Agricultural Policy and land use and what governance is needed to deliver it. We talk about policies, systems, we talk about their action, we talk about their transparency. This conversation, reform of the CAP, it's a very slow conversation, we might say, and action is needed now. What will be your message within the context of the world we're living in at the moment?
I think risk minimization and resilience are major topics, and we have all these crises and aspects which you have already mentioned. But climate change and the loss of biodiversity, these are the underlying challenges, and we have to reduce these pressure from these challenges for the future. Otherwise, it's not possible to feed the world, to feed Europe, and that means for me, we need a governance structure for the CAP which delivers, which helps us to reach these goals. And you are right, we have seen dozens of reforms, tons of studies, many practices and experiences in the field, but we are not able at the moment to bring that into policy action. And we are a little bit disappointed by the proposal from the European Commission, and we want to argue today. We want to invite the people today for fighting for a better CAP for the future.
So it is, of course, a complicated system.
Very technical, yes.
Complicated into failure, potentially?
Yeah. Yes, for sure it is, and that's why it's so important that we now bring together Commission, Member States, Parliament, stakeholders, scientists, farmers, to find solutions which are really helpful and not just helping moving a budget part from one end to the other.
Do you see this sort of progress, which we talk about every year, being eroded by volatility and instability, or action galvanized somehow?
Yeah, sometimes we have the impression that is the case. And for sure, many people in the societies, they have other concerns at the moment than as biodiversity loss. But on the other hand, I mean, we all have these problems day to day in our lives, and we see it. And what's really a hopeful sign for us is we are still growing as an NGO. So many politicians tell me, no, it's not interesting anymore, climate change, that is a topic from yesterday. And I say, no, people are there. We are growing in membership, we are growing in donations. People want that we work on it, but they have at the moment different problems.
I mean, we're talking about complicated areas. I mean, work is being made, and talking about financing the transition, and I know that you talked about that last year. You talked about simplification in Germany, and some of that simplification but not deregulation was one of the topics. Let's talk about nature credits for a moment, because I think you've said, let's not make the same mistakes we've made with carbon markets. Those ecosystem service payments and the need for them to be clever. Any progress to report there?
Yes, that is really good to see how many startups, scientists, companies come together and help the European Union to evolve a legal framework for that. I'm really optimistic that we can have in Europe a system which doesn't copy the mistakes from the past, which we have seen in the Global South with the climate certificates.
Well, I'm glad to hear your optimism. I mean, CAP has this, it's supposed to give this predictable framework, this stability, but the merger into the single fund, of course, is unpopular. Again, do you think this will be a hot topic for the panel later?
I think so, yes. It is in the center of the discussions, and we are talking about billions for European farmers. So it has to be the hot topic.
Yeah. So will there be any props this year? I think it's usually Jürgen Tack that brings the props to it. But, what would be your call to action, your main message to the board?
My main message is really that we have now the time for a change of the proposals, that we have to develop them, that we have to think about minimum budgets for environmental and climate change activities, and not so much thinking about the direct payments.
Well, enjoy the forum, and we look forward to hearing you later, Jörg-Andreas. Thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you for the invitation.